Hi, guys, and welcome if you're new. Thank you if you're returning. This is a different sort of video than I've done before. It's going to be a podcast style video. I'd like to in the future maybe talk to the camera while doing these, but for now, this is what we got. Today's podcast is going to be talking about a woman's place and gender roles. This is going to be like an audio version, as I said before, so if you want to play me in the background while you do things during your day, that's completely fine. If you want to grab a snack and listen, even better. The first thing I'd like to talk about is tradition doesn't always mean stability. Yeah, I know. That's not going to be taken well by everyone, which is fine. It's fine. What I mean by that is just because you as a woman are playing traditional roles does not mean you are going to be any happier or safer than other women. Especially if you don't find people who are in the same alignment mentally and fundamentally as you. And that comes down to getting to know yourself. And if you are maybe raised in a church setting like I was, then you're pretty much raised to just assume gender roles as soon as you're old enough, correct? It starts by helping your mom take care of people in the family, and then it goes from there. That doesn't mean you're going to be happier or safer than other women, though. Especially if you never take the time to actually get to know yourself and your own core values and what you actually want in life, and you're just placing all your bets on this traditional style life fulfilling you and giving you the happiness that you seek. That's ultimately placing your power in not just someone else's hands, but some hypothetical situation. Do you understand how that can be dangerous and problematic? That being said, I'm not against traditional roles, if you will, and I'm not against women who choose to live a life that is more traditional as far as the female setting goes. What I am saying is if you're going to live that kind of lifestyle, you need to at first take time to get to know yourself. The reason you need to take time to get to know yourself is because if you want the value that you think a traditional lifestyle can provide you, then you have to marry in alignment. I'm not just talking about marry right as in, finances, all that other stuff. You have to marry in alignment. Do their fundamentals match up with yours? If you're religious, are they religious too? Is it the same religion? Do they have a religion that can complement yours if it's not the same religion? You need to marry in an alignment, and you also, when you take the time to get to know yourself and get to know your core values, will then, once you start dating and looking for a marital partner, be able to discern who has done that for themselves, and you will hold yourself and your partners to a higher standard, which will set you and your future up for a more successful, fulfilling future. I think women being pinned against women is the dumbest thing that has ever happened. Okay, whether you want to be a traditional woman or you want to be more of a style. Okay, if you want to be a traditional woman or if you want to be the kind of woman that has more freedom of expression with her lifestyle. Regardless of what your choice is there, I don't see how us being against each other as women is going to benefit each other. I think that there are things to be learned from both lifestyles, and maybe, arguably, a balance of both could be healthy. If you happen to be a man listening to this podcast, my advice to you is that if you want a traditional role from a woman or women in your life, provide incentive. Women are not going to give that to you for free. That means you as a man have to play a traditional male role, which means providing is the bare minimum. And if that doesn't sound fun to you, then maybe reconsider if you actually want a traditional woman. I would like to also ask you, why do you want to live a traditional lifestyle, male or woman? You know what I mean? What value do you actually think you'll get from that? And is that more value than you can achieve on your own? I'm not against marriage at all. I'm just posing a question here because I think a lot of people enter into marriage without really understanding what it is and what kind of work you have to put into it, just assuming that they're going to have an easy life once they get married. And that's not necessarily the case. Traditional women do not have easy lives, okay? It's their choice, which is what our ancestors fought for with the women's movement. The choice to be in the home or the choice to be a career woman, right? So let's not hate on each other regardless of what the choice is. There's value in both. But being a traditional woman is arguably more work than being a career woman, okay? I'm going to say it. So if you think that's going to give you an easier life, reconsider. Chances are you're wrong. Also, don't make your life choices based on what you think will make your family happy. And if that is what you've been making most of your life choices based on up to this point, look at their lives. Do you actually want their lives? Would you be happy living their life? If the answer is no, disregard what will make them happy and focus only on what's going to ultimately fulfill you. Also, I don't want to be harsh or anything because it's kind of a sad reality, but living our lives to make our ancestors happy, or our elders, happy, is going to screw us in the long run because most of them are going to die before we do. So if we live our life based on what they will approve of or not approve of, we're screwing ourselves in the end. And then we're choosing to possibly screw ourselves because we don't take the time to get to know ourselves. And we don't take the time to, maybe marry in alignment or what have you. And then we're going to blame everybody else once we get to that point. We're going to be bitter and miserable and sad. And then we're just not going to enjoy the second half of our life either. What is the point in that? Up to this point, I've been talking about marriage in the traditional setting. There is another path, of course, that you can take, and that goes back to marrying in alignment. If you are somebody who does want to have more of a freedom, more stability within yourself, you don't want to rely on somebody else for your stability, right? You want to have something of your own to fall back on, or maybe you just want to have more freedom of expression in general in your life and you don't want to be tied down to one image or one role, that's fine. Take the time to find that out about yourself, and if you already know that about yourself, then you probably don't have to be told to get to know yourself because you're already on that path. The next step is to date within alignment, which is what everybody should be trying to do. Otherwise, you're just purposely screwing with each other's heads and hearts. It's stupid. Date within alignment. Once you are dating within alignment, if you decide later on that you want to get married, make sure that person knows that you do not necessarily want to live out the traditional role. Maybe you still want to have a career, right? And if you can, try to find ways to set yourself up to make money from at home or make money in a freer way where you're not necessarily tied down to a 9 to 5. You can make your own schedule. That conversation goes down to investment and money talk, and we can get into that another day. My point is, by taking the time to get to know yourself, dating within alignment, and then eventually marrying within alignment, you are taking advantage of the freedom of choice that our pre-existing ancestors, elders, what have you, fought for during the women's movement in order for us to have this choice now, even have this conversation now. There was a time women couldn't have credit cards or bank accounts without a father or husband making money choices for them. Okay? And not every man I know knows how to make money choices. So let's just take that into consideration, take what I'm saying into consideration, and realize that we have more option and more availability to us now than it has ever been available to us before. Not just because of the women's movement, we have technology, we have new career paths opening up left and right. Okay, I live in a legal state, so that means there are dispos everywhere, which means people can go and get a job at a dispo. People can be a social media influencer. People can be a life coach. People can be a photographer. People can be artists and have more reach than they ever had before. The options are literally limitless, and some of our ancestors would have died with the things that are available to us now. I can only imagine what some of the people like Carnegie. Could you imagine if Carnegie had Facebook? I also would like to throw it out there, because I myself have been definitely a victim of this. Do not live as a people pleaser or try to be a pleasant woman just because you're afraid of getting labeled as a difficult woman or the B word or what have you. Or you think that other people are going to reject you because you're not pleasant enough for them. You're not small enough for them. You're not meek enough for them. I'd like to throw this out there. Pleasant women never make history, and therefore they rarely change anything. They rarely do anything of substance because they're too preoccupied with trying to be digestible for everyone else. If you'd like some examples of this, let's look at Princess Diana. Princess Diana was very feminine. Everybody loved her, but she did not make herself small and digestible for anyone, not even Prince Charles. Okay? You want another example? Let's look at Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton had a very public marriage, very public life. She's been in politics a long time. You don't necessarily have to agree with all of her politics to recognize that she has made great headway for women and opened doors for women in that field that may not have opened otherwise. She didn't do that by being digestible, by being pleasant, by being small and meek. She didn't do that by living in fear of being labeled as a difficult woman or the B word. Another example, Marilyn Monroe, beloved by many, but she did not make herself small or digestible. Even though she got typecast as a dumb blonde, and she was actually very smart and savvy, she never lowered herself to be smaller and more digestible and quieter. She made herself larger than life. She made it impossible not to hear her, not to see her. And she didn't care what other people thought. She blazed her own path anyway. My other examples include Oprah Winfrey, Erykah Badu, Tina Turner, Etta Jones, very famous women who did not have an easy path getting to where they were and blazed the trail for people after them to even have the possibility of blazing that trail. They didn't make themselves small, meek, quiet, digestible. Rihanna, she doesn't make herself digestible for anyone. She is who she is, and she's not apologizing for it. These are all women who have made their dreams come true for themselves, but did not do it by being digestible, small, meek, quiet, or pleasant. And they definitely risked being labeled as a difficult woman, or the B word, or somebody you may not want to work with, and they never let that stop them. And they also did not let Hollywood or other people pin them against other powerful women. When women support other women, they literally cannot be stopped, is my point with that final part that I threw in there. Also, you do not have to be an a-hole to be successful. But if you allow yourself to be a people pleaser, if you make choices based on what you think your family or other people expect of you, or based on the gender role that you have been provided with, and the expectations that come along with that, the chances are you're not going to make a difference, you're not going to make history, and you may not even end up fulfilled or happy by the end of it. I'm not saying that you have to make history or be famous or change the world. But if you don't take advantage of the choice that has been provided to you by the day and age that we are currently in, then who can? You don't have to subscribe to anyone's ideal for what you should or shouldn't be doing with your life, your time. And your goals are entirely your own to make. Whatever your goal is whatever your goal is. There's no such thing as a good or bad goal. It's up to your personal discretion. We have freedom for a reason, especially if you live in America. And I think it's time that we start taking responsibility for our own happiness. We start dating in alignment. We reject other people's ideals for ourselves and come into embodying our own ideals for ourselves. And we take responsibility for not just our happiness, but our emotions in general, because that's how we're going to take our power back and become empowered in life. Nobody is going to empower you. You're going to have to do that yourself, and it's not necessarily going to be easy work, but steps like this can help you regain or gain your own personal power. Okay, that's all I really have for you guys today. If you stuck around for this whole thing, thank you so much. Leave something that you did or didn't like in the comments below. If you liked the video, maybe consider giving it a thumbs up. And I will be posting once a week, every week, possibly more than once a week. So if you want more content from me, be sure to return. Thank you and good luck.